Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you to all the attendees for joining in. Welcome to Educe Edition 1, where we address the topic of pandemic versus pandemonium. And with us, we have architect Avni Sejpal, we have architect Santha Gour from Infinity Design Studio, we have Lalita Tharani from Collaborative Architecture, Anjali Lovekar, and we have Tarannum Kadri all the way from Nasik. Welcome on board, ladies, and thank you so much for making the time for this. And we are looking forward to have not just an interesting conversation with all of you, but also to understand the all-women perspective of how are we dealing with what's happening around us at the moment.
Thank you, Ranjita. Thank you for getting us all on the board together.
Thank you, Ranjita, for having us.
It's completely our privilege. Thank you.
We all
hi
have
all.
amazing experiences. Where do we start from?
Okay.
So, why don't you just coordinate this?
Right. So let's look at it like this. Looking at the current situation, okay, and I'm not looking at it just from a healthcare perspective or about this COVID-19 virus, which has been kind of causing sleepless nights. I'm looking at an evolution war factor. I am looking at how space, life, and the connectivity factor between the two is going to get affected. What are the roles of the architects and the professionals in this industry, in this global emergency? Like this going to emerge as how are you, what are the critical roles that you believe that architects and design professionals would play at such a time like this?
Yeah.
What they're already playing or what they will play?
What they are going to play, because you've always been an extremely prolific part of society. You've been known for shaping the way we live our lives by shaping the spaces that we exist and coexist in. So let's look at the way life has changed for us. It's like an evolution warp. We are just going through a stop and start situation. We've just come to a full stop and we have yet to get into a start mode, and we don't know how the start mode is going to happen. So what are the roles that architects and professionals in this global emergency likely to play now, and how critical are they?
So, well, I feel as far as we're concerned, now going forward, I think we need to really think about the sustainability in the new term of degrowth, because the basic main issue that we kind of faced, or this pandemic has come in after a century, is because of the human greed and because of the unlimited growth that we are doing. We are taking over forest areas, and that's the reason. Firstly, this zoonotic, pandemic has kind of come over and spread from the animals to the humans right now. So I think in thinking of the new term, redefine sustainability in terms of degrowth, that is the first thing we as architects, as designers, have to really concentrate on. And, that's what we need to think about when we say in built environments. So regrowth should be our new mantra. That's where I come from.
But Lalita, how does this change our perspective? How does this change our intention to do what we are doing already?
No, there is no, see, this is exactly what we're saying. So degrowth, when we are saying that, we all just go building, we all just go encroaching. So first thing is, we all need to, when we say we need to think differently, we need to think more. When we all spoke about sustainability, we all been speaking about sustainability till now, right? So we need to think about the new way of living should be, we need to think more, sustainability is one aspect of it, but we need to, in terms of how we build, in terms of how we consume, in terms of how we live. So pushing back or pulling back is what we need to, that's what degrowth, what I mean by degrowth is we need to start pulling back. So that's what
to me
does it mean
simplifying life a lot, simplifying the needs, simplifying the life a lot, simplifying.
Yes, of course. In all aspects.
Yeah, we've been talking about minimalism for the last so many years now.
Absolutely.
It's time to practice that, really.
Absolutely.
Truly.
Yeah.
I believe it's a time that we really have to slow down things now. Everything has changed. Suddenly, this is something which is very unprecedented that has come up to us, and we as architects, the things that will, after this, whatever happens after the pandemic that comes up, the scenario is going to be completely turned around. Like it will be a different side of the coin this time. People would be very repulsive, and our profession is into the service category, which is going to be the last thing people will really think of. And the kind of spaces that would be demanded definitely would not be the same that we have been practicing till date. So it's going to, I believe it's a little alarming situation, not to that extent, but the scenario is definitely changed. People's perspective looking at this profession will definitely change.
I have a
I
question.
beg to differ. Sorry, can I just add? I beg
Yeah.
to differ. Okay, first of all, this, whatever is happening is extremely unprecedented. None of us can really make a judgment call on what is going to happen in the next 15, 20 days, next 3 months or 6 months. The problem is at a macro level. It's at a humanitarian, it's at a community level, and we are discussing very micro things as to what
I agree.
individually. Correct?
Take us down to the human level.
Yeah, but I also think that there is an opportunity. I think there is going to be, okay, at a micro level, what we can do as architects, we have really been, or interior designers, we have really been dependent on China for most of our products. First is give China a kick on their butt. And I'm sure a lot of international people are going to do that. China is going to face a backlash. They are going to face a backlash, but that's a very good opportunity for India. I mean, which countries there are, if there are a lot of lectures that you heard that if China faces a backlash and if nobody goes to China for manufacturing, there are few countries that get come in and step in place of China. And one of them would be India. So this would be an opportunity for India to grow into a massive manufacturing sector. But again, I'm speaking at a very micro level. At an individual micro level, we should encourage our clients now to look at India as a manufacturing thing. Not go to Italy,
Yes,
not go to
Santha,
Dubai, not go to China.
India,
I second that thought.
Micro level. Micro
India
level.
as a manufacturing unit, will it become another China, which is catering to the outside
We
world
can
and
learn
not
from
to
their
India
mistakes.
itself?
We can
So
learn
what
from their
happens to
mistakes.
make in
We're
India
definitely
for
not
India?
going to have pangolins. So we can learn from their
So,
mistakes.
but Anjali, China just doesn't cater to international. It caters to their own market also. So why can't we do the same thing
Also,
in
yes.
any case?
Also, yes.
Yeah.
But
So
broadly speaking, it caters to the worldwide market.
it does because it's a manufacturer for the world as of right now. So yeah, it's going to take a long while, but most countries, like look at Japan. Japan has already given incentives to their a lot of their corporates to get their manufacturing out of China, which the government has already initiated that, and they are looking at 5 countries as of now. India is one of them for the same thing. So it's India, Thailand, Vietnam,
I think it's
so
a
Malaysia.
wonderful
So
opportunity. Yes, there's a lot of anxiety, but
I think
think
Avni would be able to
That's
speak
appreciated.
onto this
Okay.
Avni would be the right person to comment onto this.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Hi, Avni. In fact, having forayed into product designing and also looking at the fact that Lalita has been speaking about sustainability, and I think that should be backed very heavily by innovation, because I think it's high time that we got innovative. Without that, sustainability is also going to become a very, it's not going to really be a stable factor to follow. So what do you feel, Avni? What do you think? How does this sustainability, innovation, how does this, other international companies, Europe and USA, looking at India as a potential manufacturing hub, how do you think that's going to fare and work out for all of us?
Ranjita, from a product perspective, sustainability was already a concern with the climate change before even this pandemic hit. So this is not something, this is just going to this pandemic has brought in really serious introspection in terms of how we are consuming, how our value systems are placed, how we behave in terms of consumption. So that's where, like, I agree with Lalita, minimalism, and even what Anjali was saying, we will consume, we'll have to adapt to this, first of all. With the humanitarian crisis that's happening. So as designers, as architects, first of all, we'll have to, because we are solution providers, we creatively come up with solutions. So the kind of spaces, or a kind of product which will, first of all, help with the infrastructure, be it healthcare or be it even caregiving for that matter, or helping now the responsibility of a space and a product is even much more, because you're supposed to meet that void, which could have gone into frivolity, and now it kind of goes into a necessity. So that necessity is going to open up a lot of new avenues, which is an opportunity in itself. Where so by that, yes, you will. I mean, we will have resources that are going to be not available earlier. I mean, our supply chains were not affected. Now all our supply chains are affected, because we will probably not have access of materials from all over the world. So that means we will have to use something which is available locally. We'll have to use skills that are available locally. We'll have to I wouldn't want to use the word jugaad, but we'll have to creatively look into what we can tap into within the existing regional plane that we can, in the regional realm that we can.
On that note, Avni, what you're saying is that we are definitely looking at critical situations of supply chain management, of procurement, of time management factors, because things are slowing down in the logistics end of it, things are slowed down in the manufacturing end of it, and a lot others. So in such a situation, what do you think is the fraternity's unique experience in emergencies like this? What kind of experience that you bring to the forefront in terms of leading the way, that we can have some innovative measures of countering these critical situations? Because you see, work cannot stop. I mean, it can slow down, but it needs to pick back up again eventually. It's the survival of the fittest, it's the economy, and a lot of other things also on a personal level that gets affected. So Lalita, can we have your feedback on that?
Well, see, as designers and architects, the uniqueness that we can, the ability that we have in terms of the strategic thinking and solving complex problems, which we always keep doing in terms of our architecture designs and other design thinking. So that, and also the ability that we have, we to collaborate with various people in various sectors, and more so as architects we have the ability to empathize, because we as architects already have this this perspective of thinking from others point of view. That's how we design for our clients, because we think from their shoes, from their perspective. So that one thing is there, that we can empathize with the situations, we can think from others perspective, and so we can as designers and architects, we can put in a lot of things in that aspect. Similarly, like when the floods happened in Kerala last 2 years. So all the architects, I know that because we've been a part of a group where we have been doing these kind of things. We start thinking about how to mitigate that issue and how to solve. So similarly, as architects and designers, we have a lot that we can do, because we can think, we can empathize, and we can join forces, collaborate with others to come out with meaningful solutions. So that's what.
Anjali, how do you feel, when you're actually looking at logistic issues, or you're looking at labor issues, or you're looking at your current project scenario or about to start project scenario? How do you think the situation affects you, and what do you think would be something unique that you would bring onto the plate, in terms of looking at a quick solution or a sustained solution?
At the moment, I don't find a quick solution to this. We have to be patient about everything. Now, like I was saying, such situations, such difficult situations worldwide have always got a change into architecture. There was Renaissance, there was modernism, there was minimalism, there was postmodernism. I think now we are into a phase where it is going to become realism. So everything has to be realistic now. Everything in terms of the quantity, the quality, everything will have to be realistic. There will be nothing over the top for some time to come. So as far as the labor and logistics is concerned, I think we will have to review the situation, considering it could arise state-wise. We've had so many laborers who've been coming from other states because their expertise was in that kind of work that we wanted to get done. But now I think we'll have to look inside. We'll have to train people here itself, maybe. That's what I'm looking at. And then have the work done in-house. So it is going to be like European states, how every European state has its own sort of
A labor hub, yes.
need. And if they have to go beyond, they go outside.
I
Something
agree.
like this is
Certainly
going
get
to happen here
decentralized.
too.
In
That's what
that
I think.
sense, I
I
agree with
don't
you.
see a lot of laborers coming back soon because of the things that they have faced, because of the economy. But I really don't see how it is going to happen as a quick fix solution.
Yes, Avni, you were saying something.
No, I was just agreeing with what Anjali is saying. It is going to get decentralized. Like earlier, it was, there was a set precedent that this is where you're going to get this and this is where. Here, we'll have to kind of get, we will have to be self-sufficient. We will have to kind of come up with solutions locally, considering, there will be travel restrictions, considering there will be, you know, all these global supply chains will be affected. So that one size fits all mass produced algorithm probably won't work anymore. So we will have to look inwards, to making our industry, our manufacturing better and
stronger.
So
we have to support the in-house production.
I think I think this is also a good opportunity for the local craftsmen. We as designers and architects definitely would have to enhance their skill, train them up, and support their ability to get into this scenario. And this will definitely uplift the labor class at the local level. I'm talking about at the regional level, and because see, getting labors from outstation or from some other city is definitely going to be a very questionable task where their expertise lies into. So yeah, we'll have to really upskill the labor at the local level.
On that note, Tarannum, do you feel that right now we have issues where we have seen, in Delhi, the ISBT bus station had some lack laborers all, coming and standing together because they could not go back to their respective villages or whatever. Do you think for tier ones and tier twos, it would help us if we develop hubs of labor or procurement of products around the city within a manageable distance where logistic would be more effective, and obviously skill training also would become much more efficient and effective because of the reach factor? Do you think these kind of little things would actually help us in tackling, day-to-day situations, especially in the architecture, design, and the construction industry?
See, this is very early statement to comment on, like what would happen after that, because the scenario, we all are puzzled up with the scenario, and there's so many questions that are coming up with the same thing. But eventually we'll have to start planning onto this issue, how to train the laborers. Do we set up some labor hubs or something like that on the peripheral, on the peripheries of the city? This question really has to be really thought of, not at one single individual level, but as the entire fraternity will have to really give a question to that.
In relevance to that, Santha, you've been handling a lot of very large scale projects, where you've had to procure labor from all, geographies, because the skill sets have been different. You've had to coordinate a lot. So how do you feel this entire situation in terms of logistics versus labor versus product procurement is going to shape up?
I honestly feel this is going to take the next 2 to 3 months to pan out. I just heard a breaking news saying that UP CM has just announced that all the large construction projects are going to start by 15th of April. I feel it's too soon. Okay, so for because the labor has already gone back to their villages, for them to come back, get over the fear, come back to maintain social distancing, to start all these projects in the same way like it was going on earlier is going to take some time. We don't want a relapse to happen. So it has to be slowly panned out. Regarding what we are saying about these labor hubs, okay, so if we make labor hubs, then what? What if something like this happens again? Again, we run off to our villages, right? So, what we need is not labor hubs. We need is our own towns. Like I had once been to Udaipur and I found the craftsmen very good out there. Udaipur can become a manufacturing, wonderful furniture manufacturing hub. We don't need to get them to Bombay to make a secondary manufacturing hub. They can be there in their places and doing local manufacturing there. We can go there. That logistic can work out rather than getting people here and doing like a local, labor hub kind of a thing. Regarding material supply chain, we were getting a lot of imports happening. I really cannot answer that as to how that is going to pan out in the next few months. A lot of imports were from China. So where we are going to get that material from, how is it going to pan out? It's a big question mark. It's a big what if. So we'll really have to wait and watch how this situation goes.
Yes.
The answer is
Just want to interrupt over here, Santha. I just want to, since you mentioned about we can have these labels from wherever they originate from, and they can, yes, of course, they can work that way, but that can happen only in terms of, things which are not to be done at site, like loose furniture and things like that. What about things that we need to build at site?
So,
What about?
but this is not trained labor, na? This is still the unskilled labor, the masons,
Yeah.
the iron cutters.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
हमें
So,
कोई training नहीं देनी है.
no, understood. But what about those? We do need those also, and those also
will come
are not really locally. They
They
need
will
to,
come
of course, come.
locally.
So
They will
that situation will still persist.
that situation will still नहीं
Still
what will
persists.
persist in the next 2-3 months as project start. पहले 100 लेबर आएगा, फिर 200 लेबर है, धीरे धीरे वो लेबर आएगी. बट उनके लिए हमें कोई ऐसे ट्रेनिंग या मैन्युफैक्चरिंग नहीं है. ऑल आई एम सेइंग इज दैट यू डोंट हैव टू गेट जो अपनी स्ट्रेंथ है, लाइक राजस्थान हैज अ स्ट्रेंथ इन फर्नीचर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग या कारीगरी जो भी है, उसको वहां डेवलप करो. बॉम्बे लार्जर प्रोजेक्ट्स जो हो रहे हैं, बॉम्बे में लाके मैन्युफैक्चरिंग या फर्नीचर हब बनाने की जरूरत नहीं है. उसको वहीं रखो ताकि अगर God forsake, some other pandemic kind, some situation happens like that, people are not going to run away to their villages. Abhi, what is the scene? We don't know when the labor is coming back. We don't know when the projects will start. So, where are we? Masons nahi hai, bricklayers nahi hai, iron cutters nahi hai, koi nahi hai. For larger projects, this is the unskilled labor that we need.
But those are also needed, right?
Those are needed, but
probably they could also be employed full time. That's also another thing where they are on a contract basis. They not just a contract basis, but they're employed full time.
So in our larger projects, they are employed full time. But then in this kind of a situation, they still went back because the fear psychosis and the anxiety levels were so high that जहाँ 500,000 labor है site पे, वो फिर भी वापस जाते.
See, this is not just to, labor issue is not just in terms of our profession. This is happening. Look at the
Everywhere.
hotel
All
industry.
factories have
Look
shut
at the hotel industry,
Exactly.
factories. Look at all those things.
Everywhere.
I mean, they have to go back. So this is a persistent problem which is going to be across the scenario, across the corporates, across the workforce, anywhere, be it any field that we are talking about.
The point that I am trying to
be
make
it any industry.
Yeah, make India ke hubs localized. Manufacturing है, textiles है. Still a lot of textile, Indian textile is so much in demand internationally. लोग आते हैं यूपी, कपड़ा लेके जाते हैं. Those are manufacturing hubs all over there.
No, but
keep them there.
But these are going to just solve the issues about the manufacturing areas. So, for example, people go and source furniture from China. That will get resolved. Perfect. So that's great. So that way, there are a lot of manufacturing things which we import and all that. That will get resolved. Great. But the labor at site, those issues will still remain. So
will not get resolved.
We need to mitigate those issues.
Yes.
Yeah, but how? See, large factories also shut down.
On that note, ladies, I think we can move on to a next query of, since we have so many ideas. So the idea is to now, how do we collaborate across the different sectors, to support this entire mitigation thing that we are talking about? How do we put a plan into action? You being architects and, you're dealing in design day in and day out. So one of your key skill sets are, how you figure out where every single element of a project comes together. From how I look at the current situation, it's literally a project that India is partaking in right now, and we're all working towards resolving it in a very positive manner. So what do you think our sector as architects and designers, how do we contribute in terms of ideations for collaborations across these different sectors to make this mitigation successful and to figure out, maybe a 1-year program where we put a lot of things into place, or we give a lot of ideas to the current reigning government that these are things that could help these sectors. Maybe in the architecture design sector this particular process could work, in the real estate construction sector this process could work. What would your views be on that? Anjali, can we start with you on this?
Yes, personally I feel we should have on the government board a good strong architectural or designer base to identify these issues and take care of them. we should represent a lot of these issues in person and tackle them the way we want them to happen. That is my first concern. We are not, at the moment, we are not represented very well. Only the infrastructure, I would say, the larger infrastructure is represented, but we are not. As designers, we are not represented. So I think we should do that first. I don't know how that should happen, but yes, it should happen. Secondly, collaboration also means we should try and put all the faculties or the facets of design into one basket by identifying them separately, and not have a turnkey kind of an office, you know. Like I go and collaborate with Avni for a certain thing. I go and collaborate with Lalita for her expertise, or Tarannum in Nasik for her expertise. Something like that could work out presently, where Tarannum also works on some ideas, I work on some ideas, and the collaborative project comes up together. So that could help in a way in the present scenario. In the present scenario, the big firms, the turnkey firms, are finding it a lot of problem to sustain. But maybe small size and medium size firms like ours could combine together and make it happen. That's what I feel.
What's your feedback on this, Tarannum?
I agree to what Anjali said right now. Like looking at the scenario, like the city that I belong to, definitely this question is arising: how would we sustain? And probably collaborative practices would start emerging up. You know, 2 or 3 people coming together and then effectively work on a project would definitely start up in future. That is been talked about. And as far as the yeah, I think Anjali, whatever, as far as the governing body is concerned, yeah, we definitely need to have somebody at that level to speak for us or to talk about us and to really and make the government understand the architect's role. We need to have some authority over there.
So you're saying that architects are not really that well represented in terms of their intellectual value that they bring to the entire platform of how life and space coming together should be modulated in terms of, you know, giving them the feedback that this is what we can do, these are the changes that we can bring about in so much of time, or at, you know, so much of a less cost than what you're looking at it. Because there are, I mean, I think on ground zero level there are a lot of changes that we can implement. It's just that we need to understand how, from the experienced and skilled people of the industry, like yourselves, what do you feel about that, Santha?
Sorry, I didn't. You broke up a lot.
Okay, I am sorry. Can you hear me clearer now?
Yeah, your voice is breaking, Ranjita.
Yeah.
Even I missed few points in the question.
Okay, can you hear me better now? Am I audible? Am I better now?
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Better,
yes.
better. If you could repeat the question, please.
Yeah. So I'm trying to understand that, Tarannum, as in what you said, you know, in terms of being represented to the government, even what Anjali said, you know, as an architect belonging to, you know, with a license from COA, belonging to the architecture, you know, architect sect of India. Do you feel that you're not well represented enough to the government, where you can turn around and tell the government where they're going wrong and where they could correct things of in terms of understanding at ground zero level as to what kind of collaborations or micro and macro changes that they can bring about in terms of lifestyle, space management, you know, in terms of how we conduct ourselves on a day-to-day basis? Do you think a proper representation of architects, you know, going out to the government in a proper project would really help with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are extremely underrepresented, and our representation also does not carry too much weight. Um, Honestly, every politician thinks he's an architect. He can think for the city at an urban scape much better than what an architect can. I strongly believe that if you've hired a consultant, then listen to the consultant, but that's not the case here. Architects का opinion लिया जाता है, उनसे case studies करवाई जाती हैं. They ask them. There are many case studies that are done on redesigning of the Mumbai coastline, but then those remain paper projects. Likewise, must be happening in many other cities of the country. We are extremely badly represented, and we really need to up that ante. And the government needs to have a larger view that what we bring to the table.
So with that thought in mind, Lalita and Avni, in fact, I'd address this question to both of you. What do you think would be the positive takeaways from the current situation and the negative giveaways? What do you think are the, things that we should learn as a perspective? We should learn from what we are going through right now, and what we should get rid of, the common things that we have a tendency of practicing because we live in our urban life, and we just kind of start taking things for granted. you know for example, everybody's been putting posts up about how dolphins are now can be seen on the Mumbai coastline, and how from Ludhiana you can see, I don't know, some mountain something there. I am sure they'll be able to see even beyond the Alps someday, but never mind. But I'm trying to figure this out. Why is that we are suddenly waking up to what the environment can be for us? Why do we not make it a regular incorporated factor into our regular lifestyles, that this is how it should be every day? This is not how it should be just because 21 days or 30 days or 45 days, we've been asked to stay in our houses, and we are not taking out our cars, and we are not riding our bikes, and we are not going in the train. Why do we not do that little bit? And how can we do that little bit?
Well, Ranjita, it's a simple answer. The human greed. Is there anything beyond that? No, nothing, right? So there is this human greed. So that absolutely. So the human greed, kind of eats away everything. And so right now, at the end of the day, we were talking about sustainability, but no, not practicing sustainability. We were not living sustainably. So, at the end of the day, our poor Mother Earth was suffering. I mean, it's time. Earth said, okay, it has to regenerate. So, it's going to, regardless of whatever we do, whatever we say, Earth is going to regenerate. Earth is going to find its way. As we say, water find its way similarly. So this is the time. So the positive takeaways we can have is, we definitely need to look at, as we have already spoken earlier, sustainable way of consumption, living, building, reuse, recycle, degrowth. These are the ideas which we really need to work with, in case of built environments, and in the general case of how we live our lives. So that is some positive takeaway. Yes, there is a lot of negative things that are happening. We are all used to having things at a beck and call. All the time we have been with whether technology, of course, gives us positive, but at the same time negatives. We are all stuck to our things. So today, the positive takeaways are, all of us are sitting with our families, all of us are sitting at home. We are reconnecting with people, so all those there are huge positive takeaways. And so, of course, and this is going to be the way of life, as we said, even though Santha was earlier mentioning that hope this doesn't reoccur, but no, this is going to reoccur. This is, till such time, even forget any other pandemic, even in this case, till such time we do not find a vaccine to COVID-19, there are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be second and third waves. There are going to be. So there is no two ways about that. So
yes.
So we need to definitely, so positive takeaways are many. Yes, go ahead, Santha. Yeah.
You know what? We are all talking here, but I know all this, not you as per se, between all of us as a community, as a society, ये सब हम साल भर में भूल गए होंगे. Okay?
Exactly, because
it's all be forgotten. And sorry, we have, as a human race, we have come till a certain distance. अब suddenly बोलो कि cut back करो, AC नहीं लगाओ, ये करो, simple life कर लो, slow down कर लो. It's very, very difficult. I'm not saying impossible. It's difficult.
So these are the reasons why
बात करने के लिए अच्छा है, but बाद में सब भूलने वाले हैं. Realistically.
True.
हम लोग की ख्वाहिशें कम ही नहीं होती है.
Exactly. और वो होंगे भी नहीं, होनी भी नहीं चाहिए. चलो, the pandemic happened for a different reason.
सबसे बड़ा बेहतरीन इलाज है कि वक्त और हालात के साथ चलो. जो वक्त आ रहा है उसको एक्सेप्ट करो, या और जैसी हालात है उसे फेस करो और वक्त के साथ चलो.
No, I actually have something to contribute there. Santha, if you feel, that, in 1 year, if this is how you feel, and I think I quite agree with you there, because I think we are known for this. आज कुछ होता है 15-20 दिन, मीडिया है, हर चीज हम करते हैं, 6 महीने बाद we are engrossed with something else. I don't even look at it as a 1 year turnaround time. In fact, 6 महीने में हम लोग सब कुछ भूल के we do something else. So let's say, if we started a campaign like this, like Educe is basically hosted by Design Works, Design Works, which basically looks at the architecture and design fraternity with a very, very different perspective. Okay, and I work with my partner, Mr. Nishit Gurnani and Himani Ahuja on this, so I've seen that they have a very different take on this. So let's say we launch a campaign. We launch a campaign of better living, which is like a daily thing, which are these small, small little do's and don'ts that architects such as yourselves or designers or life space managers such as yourselves, give out in terms of advice. It's like an educative series. I mean, we talk about education in all other aspects, but we don't talk about education in terms of us understanding how to better our own lives. We think we know it all because, if you're feeling hot, I'm going to switch on the AC. Of course, I know how to switch on an AC, right? I mean, if I have to get from one place to another, of course, I'm going to start my car up and I'm going to go and I'm going to switch on the AC in there as well because I want to avoid the pollution. But I don't want to educate myself as to how to cut down on the pollution. I don't want to cycle for a short distance, So that is what we need to teach ourselves. That, don't take the car out if it's a short distance. You can cycle to that space, You can walk there. It's actually better for your health as well. So do you think a campaign on those lines would actually help better lives?
Yes, but it's a
Of
step-by-step
course it
process.
will.
You need to be at it continuously. And there was a Hillary Clinton book that said it takes a village. You will not have to just enrope the architects. You will have to take in the whole community. It's everybody that needs to be on board. Whether it is the engineers, the artists, the teachers, the educators, somebody who teaches my son, everybody will have to be on board as to how these small steps taken over the next 20-25 years will create a change. प्रॉब्लम इज कि एक थकावट हो जाती है, थोड़ी देर के बाद वो भूल जाते हैं, बट somebody has to just not give it up and take it on as a continuous and process. And yes, why not?
Santha, I think this pandemic is not something that's going to go away in a year's time. I think this is that, like what we were talking earlier, pre-corona and post-corona, it is going to change. This is that pause button where it is, things are not going to go back how it was. See, even if we are going to go back in that trap, I don't think so in the future this is going to be possible, where we'll be able to consume like this, where we'll be able to work like this, where we and also abuse our environment in a certain in the same fashion. So this is the time when we'll have to come up with new ways to find that balance, and we'll not have a choice but to consider all those because there will be no other way. We will not be able to work in the same manner because of COVID, and we still are looking at least at a year for a vaccine, and we really don't know post that also how is it going to really pan out. So in that sense, we will have to change drastically. We'll have to adapt drastically from our work culture, from our consumption culture, from how we even collaborate with other people. So up until now, it was symbiotic and everything, but here we'll have to kind of even transfer skills. So if this is something that at least I do at my studio, where like I would get tailors on board, but those tailors are not doing textile projects. They're actually making lights. And whereas I would get technicians and artisans on board who would actually be using their skill set. They'll be using they'll be making fabric out of metal. So it's that transference of skills, which, because I wouldn't want to, I wanted to keep it local, So those kind of an answer, like, even in collaborations where, Anjali was talking about probably, getting Tarannum, where, it kind of utilizes Tarannum's strength or Lalita's strength or my strength, So we all will kind of, we'll have to do that, because I don't think so now we'll have a choice. I mean, the climate had been, up until now, we've had like serious warnings from corals to the CO2 emissions and everything. But, we've not been able to retract our steps in that sense. But I think this is that pause button where we will not be able to go back. And
Anjali,
what we're doing. So
Anjali, what do you feel about this entire discussion that Avni and Santha had about this?
So actually, as a race which is super evolved, we are here to stay. no pandemic is going to wipe us away from the face of this earth. So I think it's time to optimize our resources, understand the seriousness of the situation, make do with what is the best available situation and move on. That's what I feel. And this is not just for architecture or interiors or for designers.
Right.
This is for everyone, I feel.
Yeah.
On that note, Anjali, I think you've just labeled us much more stronger dinosaurs than the ones that actually used to roam the earth, because we are a breed, we're a species who's here to stay, and even in a million years, you're not going to wipe us out.
Yes.
So all the COVID-19s and the 20s and the 21s, I mean, they can try, but it's not going to work. So on that note, we will now look at discussing creating spaces that bring people together. This is what good architects do. So when we talk about social distancing, where people abandon the most iconic public spaces, undermining the very essence, even though temporarily. What do you feel? What do you feel? Can we bring about changes in how we design, structure, position public spaces? Since Santha, you've also been doing a lot on that. How do we actually put that forward in the future, where in spite of a situation like this, where culturally, in terms of lifestyle wise as well as space wise, we can bring about an evolution where even though we have social
So,
distancing, public
hello, we
spaces.
paused.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, you're breaking, Ranjita.
Hello.
Okay, can you hear me now?
After public spaces, didn't hear much.
Okay, so let me go back. So good architects have always, you brought together good public spaces. That's what you've been designing, because it's the need of the hour, because we've become too digitally involved. We don't get out of our workspaces. We are like stuck with the laptop, tablet, phones, whatever. So now with a situation like the COVID-19, okay, where people have abandoned whatever public spaces that they would be frequenting, okay, how do you feel in the future, public spaces should be designed, structured, engineered, or strategized to deal with a social distancing need, yet ensure that people can still visit off and on, where it's monitored, manipulated, the design factor adds a lot of value into how people are spaced out. How do you think public spaces should evolve?
I don't see Anjali.
Can you hear me?
Who takes that?
No, see, let me just get to the basic aspect of firstly what public spaces right now are existing. Okay, now when we of course had this pandemic, the entire purpose of any good public spaces to get people together. As of now, this is one situation where we have to get away from each other rather than getting together. So yes, designing is one. So I'll go back to that later. Now the basic aspect is as to what happens post the pandemic. Post the pandemic, of course, since the spaces are meant to design to bring people together, sooner or later the people are definitely going to get back to the places. The only thing is, later on when people are interacting with these spaces and with each other, how confident they are going to be, how comfortable they are going to be. People are still going to be shaken for a while. You probably may not accept some stranger's handshake, or click a selfie with another person, or be comfortable in someone else's proximity. So people will obviously be washing hands more often. So these are things that are going to happen as far as the current scenario of the public spaces are concerned. Now, as far as designing of public spaces, reason I didn't want to start commenting on that is, firstly, unfortunately in India, we definitely lack the basic sense of public space. There are no public spaces. So we have not been designing any. Even Santha, what is designing is in a sense of public space, but not a complete true sense of public space, as public spaces are meant to be. So firstly, we need to start designing public spaces in that manner, and public spaces in general are meant to get people together, not get people away from each other. So that's my take on it. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. Go on, Santha.
Okay, so public places pre the vaccine for COVID comes in are going to be very different. The day the vaccine comes out, we'll all be like very happy and ready to go to public places. But the design is not going to change. I can just visualize our lives maybe turned like a science fiction movie where all of us
Right.
wear masks and go out to the public place or go out in that bubble or something. But designing architectural point of view se kuch change nahi ho sakta hai.
Yeah,
It's going
exactly.
to be a wait 1 year, 1.5 year, 2 years till the vaccine comes out. तब तक हम mask पहन के जा सकते हैं.
Yeah.
Not the कपड़े का mask, maybe a nice side.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Maybe a
saying.
fashion
The masks are going to be the new.
maybe a fashion
No,
statement
fashion
would be
accessory.
created.
Yes,
Absolutely.
it's going to be the new
Yes.
fashion
Fashion
statement.
Yeah.
accessory.
So I think, I saw a recent video where Dr. Devi Shetty was actually educating people on the mask factor, and he said that it's better to be wearing cotton masks than the surgical ones because can you hear me?
We
Ranjita,
lost
Can,
Anjali.
can you? Yeah, hi.
Sorry, I got locked
Anjali,
out.
yeah, Anjali is trying to reconnect, I believe. But can you hear me?
Yep.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, so like I was saying, Dr. Devi Shetty said that wear cotton masks rather than surgical ones. The surgical ones have a life of around 5-6 hours, and they can't effectively be washed. Whereas the cotton ones can be washed and reused. So maybe textile designing is going to boom because people are going to look at cotton and cotton, design prints and all of that to be coming back big time. As long as we don't have to get into biohazard suits and look like one of the scientific or science fiction characters that we see in these fantastic Steven Spielberg movies. I think, I am still okay with how things are moving. On that note, what do you feel are the positives coming out of this as far as architecture and built environments are concerned?
Yeah. Hello.
Did you get the question?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so
got the question.
right. So, what are the positives you feel are coming out of the situation as far as architecture and built environments concerned?
So as far as I believe, we have to go back to history where we lived in houses which had courtyards and sort of restrained socializing spaces like the courtyards or like the verandas, where we could sort of move, we could connect on smaller level and larger level, and the public spaces were different. So maybe something like that could happen. We could start building in a
Anjali, sorry to interrupt you here, but yes, this is still happening everywhere in the second and third tier city where there are space
Yes.
available.
Yes.
Unfortunately, what happens in metro cities like Mumbai?
We
We
do
live.
have.
Yeah, so that's something that at the end of the day, when I said that human greed is going to overpower everything, so the way Santha was saying, we as human beings, we forget what we have faced, and we will go back to. So greed is definitely going to take over again, because space means money, and how do we really do give
Lalita,
these kind of things? Yeah.
Lalita, this is
Yeah.
happening in the metros as well. This is happening in the in all these high-rise complexes where every complex is looking inwards now.
True.
Yeah. So there are those connecting spaces and not so connecting spaces. There are huge gardens, terrace gardens happening in the vicinity itself or in the building itself.
But Anjali, they happened
All
even
those are.
before COVID, na?
Yeah, they happened even
As
before
a-
COVID, and
they
they are
happened
still
before COVID.
existing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're
They're
still
working.
existing, but
They happened as a
unfortunately,
design language. Sorry,
yeah.
sorry.
So
In times of
we
COVID, they are
cannot be.
working.
No, no, they are happening. They happened even earlier. They exist even today. The point is that we can't even use those spaces in this scenario as of today. We can't even step out. We have been barred from even getting down and taking a walk in the society complex itself. So those are also. So how do we really? We need to start designing our spaces, our personal spaces, our homes in a manner where it becomes far more interactive. So when of course,
that is
looking at
micromanagement. Yes.
yes, yeah. So
Micromanagement
that is something for us to be more comfortable. Balconies, as of today, are playing a big role in every aspect of things.
Yes.
So things
I
like
totally
balconies,
agree.
larger
Clapping
windows,
candles. Clapping candles.
yeah, designing so that there is cross ventilation. So these are important, small important things which we need to pay attention, which have been forgotten in designing personal spaces. I guess that is something that we need to, or office spaces per se, because I know my office space is a complete closed space, and I wish if this was a scenario and I had to be in my office, I would really want to open up all the windows, which I can't. So those are kind of
We are
spaces.
in a bungalow, so I
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I know that's
We
where
are
it came
jealous.
from.
We are
It's
jealous.
Yeah.
That's what we are trying to tell you.
So I see a lot of, Ranjita, just to say, I see a lot of questions from the participants happening.
Where can you see this? I can't
yeah,
see.
there's in the chat, there are a lot of questions from the participants.
Okay.
And tons of different kind of questions. So I think we should address a couple of them.
So we have Vibhor Srivastav asking us that as designers, what are the key steps you intend to take to address this going forward?
I think we have already discussed all this.
We have already dealt with that, but then there are some very specific questions which we could probably take.
India is a very price-sensitive market, asked by Kunal Khandelwal. Please comment on this.
But what price sensitive?
Yes, I believe he must be addressing.
He's talking about the fees part.
If he's talking about the fees part, then I would love to know. But the last I knew, I think I'd love to know how the big builders are planning to pay the architects and how the product guys are planning to pay their laborers, and it's an effervescent chain, you know. So anything about money, I'm very interested. I'd love to hear Kunal's comment on this. In fact, if he wants to type in something. We've got Seemanti here asking us, hello everyone. There should be more doors opened for people as an associate designer or architect. People who are doing freelance after this lockdown, it will be hard time for those freelancers. Don't you think as senior architects or designers, you all should help freelancers like us who are willing to work hard to achieve our dreams?
Sure.
That would be going into the collaborative session.
Yeah, so which has been happening even earlier, and that will continue to happen, I think. So we are all going to face these problems, and I guess collaboration is the way forward, as Anjali has already mentioned about it, whether it's between firms or whether it's with freelancers or with individuals who are super talented on their own in their own
also this would encourage work from home attitude, I believe, which was never there before. And I think people are getting trained into that, and they're adapting to this style of working.
Yeah, but it works to an extent.
Temporarily it will work, because it the working is not 100%. We cannot all of work in the 100% mode that we would work.
Of course, we are used to this system of having one-to-one dialogues, one-to-one understanding. Yeah.
On that note, we will move on to our next topic of discussion: working from home, effective or inept? Would love to hear all of you give your pros and cons on how does it feel to work from home. I know for a fact I don't even I can't even keep track of when I start and when I end. Sometimes I think I'm working for 2 hours, and sometimes I think I'm just working away, and you are too engrossed, and then you've just lost track of time before you realize that, oh, guess what? I would have never done, probably never sat through for so much time had I been sitting in the office. So how do you feel about that?
I think we need a balance. The last at least 25 days that we've been under this lockdown, and some before that voluntarily that we were under a lockdown, I think, it's kind of blurred the boundaries now that we're working from home, which are not essentially designed to work like an office, like your studio. So to kind of retrofit that space for long hours, and along with that support family activities, support your hobbies, support every sort of from meditation to fitness to everything. The key would be to now kind of have spaces or retrofit them so as to, even though they're looking inwards, it needs to have that sort of a balance where you'd be able to pursue all of these things rather than just showcasing your space, as opposed to, having it really functional. So as of now, our homes are all our homes are functional in that sense. But then we had a respite space. We all used to go to a studio. We all used to go out for an entertainment, and home was for only one or two things. That is being with your family and resting. But now it kind of is about everything. It is about your entertainment. It is about fitness. It is about caring. It is about resting and, being creative also at the same time. So in that sense, I think we will need to have creative solutions to this, where that space itself can function, in so many more layers. So design, actually, it would be great for all of us who are listening.
No, as Ranjita rightly said, this endless working hours, as Avni has rightly said, there are so many perspectives to our space, being not being designed to be work to really function as a working space. So first thing would be, of course, to equip everything is one aspect of it. But then, because I used to have a home office before I kind of had a formal office set up. So I, in fact, had started my office from home, and I used to work for about a year from home till I moved out to an office space. But now, coming from that aspect, even though my space was completely equipped, but there is a casualness that sets in. So one is we need to train our minds to adapt to this, and the aspect of the same thing that we're going to office, coming back home to unwind, is something that we kind of miss out over here, because there will be no time unless we kind of really train our minds and set patterns or the timelines, and so do our families, that they know when they are supposed to interact with us or when they are not supposed to, and give us space
Do you
to
mean
work.
to say, Lalita, that we have to be more disciplined in that case?
We definitely do need to. We definitely do need to. We need to train ourselves. We need to train our families, and everyone needs to adapt to those circumstances. So these are things that will happen. But still, in terms of the 100% functioning, is a long way to go, because technology-wise, we need a lot of support, not just about the design aspect. And we definitely cannot have. See, we can have meetings with our clients. We can have meetings with our consultants. We can have brainstorming meetings with our team, everything. But what do we do when we have to select supposedly a veneer? How do we do that? We need to physically go through the space. So work from home cannot be 100% work from home in that aspect. What do we do when we have to have site meetings? We can probably have some setups over there. We can have some, but we definitely cannot do quality control by sitting at home and not venturing out to site. So those aspects of our profession are definitely going to creep in. We definitely need to address
any profession, I think.
Any profession,
dedicated workspace is a dedicated
a
workspace.
workspace, right?
We know is a passing phase, so we are able to handle the work and the pressure cooker ka city going.
Right.
We know. But if you have to do it like as a regular part of your life, either we'll have to discipline ourselves, or we'll have to just look at a different scenario. But on the positive side, I really feel that what this brings about is that sometimes clients used to just call for those 15 minutes ka meeting, which could have been done over the phone call. Maybe people will be more open to doing a Skype call or a Zoom call, and okay, yaar, choti moti baat hai, is par karte. Bombay going one side is a 2-hour travel. So maybe that is what will cut off. Baki to I think dedicated workspace is a dedicated workspace.
I agree.
Any which ways, we never indulge
So
our
at the
clients
same
for
time,
the
when you're
15
working at
minutes
a
calls.
dedicated workspace, you have this one-to-one dialogue tendency, and when you're designing, you need to be with the paper and pen together, and that माहौल, what we say as माहौल भी बहुत जरूरी होता है काम के लिए.
Exactly.
And then you want to come home at the end of the day. You want to come home.
It is very, how do I say? The greed is always there. After I have my lunch and I feel sleepy, I know there's a bed inside and I can go to sleep. So that gets cut off when you're in office. So, I mean, itna to mere se bhi nahi hoga.
But you can do on prescription, half an hour nap will take you, make you feel better at the end of the day.
I agree with all
self-discipline.
For me,
scientifically proven.
The way I function at my studio, I'm pretty much in a solitary space. There's nobody around me, so I don't feel, in terms of designing, and when I'm in front of the computer, there's absolutely peace at home as of now. The place where I kind of miss this is the way I work is, every time I'm doing something experimental, my artisans are right there, so it's a back and forth process for me. So every time I design something, we're making a sample, we're making something. It 4 out of 10 times it doesn't work, and we go for a 5th one or a 6th sample. So that is something, that's the human touch, where I kind of feel that okay, my designing cannot happen in solitary, because my prototyping is where I need to check whether that design is working, whether it's actually going to function. So that's a bit where I suffer the most. But in terms of designing, I think it's really nice because there are no bell ringings anymore. There are no, I mean, max to max, there are phone calls, there are Zoom meetings, but there are no bell ringings. I don't have to look at the admin bit anymore. So,
but all in all, I think this cannot be a permanent solution. Work from home cannot definitely be a permanent solution, because specifically in Asian society, in Asian culture, where the culture, the family culture is such that we definitely do not know the thing of privacy of space, okay, which happens in the Western culture, which happens.
I so agree with you on this. I think I've become a master at online Ludo with my daughter in the last.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's not what I want to do in my workspace.
Right. So privacy of space, privacy of one's thinking time, and those kind of privacy of time, privacy of space is something that Asian cultures are not. So in a way, it's a double-edged sword, the Asian culture, because in times like these, we definitely need the emotional and social bonding, which happens in Asian families, in Asian cultures, which doesn't unfortunately happen in the Western culture much. But at the same time, the other aspect is this interference in terms of the workspace. So in terms of work from home, it cannot be a permanent solution as far as I look at it. So that's my perspective.
Great. On that note, we will move into our next element of discussion, which is pandemonium. But before we do that, I have a couple of queries here from some ladies. Okay, so that's Shilpa Jain, who's writing into us saying, hello, ladies. Shilpa here. Where do you see Indian-born materials and efforts versus going abroad for most of our materials and high-end projects? Shilpa, if I may, ladies, if I may address this question, I believe we've already discussed this.
Yes, we have discussed this.
As to how we need to address our procurement factors in terms of, how we can set up manufacturing within the Indian borders and figure it out, and how we go about it internationally. Yes, Santha.
No. Sorry, I was just stretching.
Oh,
so
I forgot
that's work from home. Okay, we also have a question from architect Burke, which is how do we see the role of Council of Architecture in this situation, and is it coming up with new policies to support ease out the way forward? So I mean, I don't know who can really out of us.
This is exactly what I meant by the representation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think we have also discussed those aspects of it. Yeah.
There is no one making policies. There is no one governing the situation as far as the space control is concerned. We need solid laws for this to happen.
Okay, I think there is one more question, which is Ranjita. You can see that.
I believe there is Ketaki Kulamkar writing it saying, post-pandemic time, due to less liquidity in the market, client or builders may opt for design changes to optimize expenditure or sales. Major revisions in schemes and phases of building large projects, and yet wish to make the designs cost effective. As architects, designers, how do we deliver in such situations? And how should our administrative aspects like budgeting and fees, resourcing of finishing items, timely deliverance, etc., adapt to it? Oh, that's a long one.
So Ketki is my associate now that I read the name.
Okay.
So then I will have a long answer for her in the office. But as far as the short one goes, should I?
Yes,
or anybody else?
All yours.
Yeah.
So post demonetization, I think we have been doing a little bit of this already. It is going to be a longer process in terms of using the materials, in terms of doing the detailing, which will involve extra skillful labor. We might have to cut down on that, and we might have to cut down on the frills and extravaganza if we are doing it at all. So yes, because we are going to do just that when we resume office.
I think Anjali has beautifully answered your question, not just for you, but everybody who's watching in. On that note, we can also say that a couple of years back, we saw financial pandemic when the demonetization happened. Then we saw the pandemic of Paytm. Okay, because everything went Paytm. Okay, digital. Now we are seeing the COVID-19 pandemic. I think we are becoming extremely pandemic savvy, and we're figuring out ways of how to deal with different sectors of pandemics.
So I told you we were survivors.
Yeah. So,
We
I
all
think that,
adapt. We adapt. Yeah. We
yes,
adapt.
yes. We are the better dinosaurs. Okay. On that note, okay, we move on to pandemonium. Okay, so we've had the pandemic, and now the next phrase, how I look at it, is the pandemonium. Okay, so let's say we are looking at something called restart, reboot factor. Okay, so we've all stopped. It's like the engine has suddenly died down, and now we are fixing it, okay, in the garage, and we're going to restart it. Okay, so what do you feel are the adverse effects that would impact the short term, mid-term, and long-term strategies of the firms, or or of the companies which are dealing with architecture and design, the industry per se, when you look at your professional businesses? Okay, the enterprise of architecture is how I look at it. How do you think that's going to get impacted?
I think, haven't we been discussing on the same lines overall? I think we have been going over and over again on the same
We
aspect.
need an astrologer on board for this.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we seriously do.
Vastu
No,
consultant.
Yeah.
so no, because I'm just looking at it the way I was trying to figure it out. I'm guessing that this 30 days would actually culminate into maybe a 45-day or a 60-day factor, where already project delivery is slowing down because work is slowing down, with new clients probably not obviously coming to you with a brief. By the time we get out of this and we're getting back into the business, maybe another couple of months are going to pass off before people again get back into the mode of generating new business or giving out new business to the sector. Eventually, that will bring us into June, where I think India is known for its monsoons between the months of June, July, and August, which is also the months of breeding for different viruses and bacteria because of the kind of rainfall we have, especially in Maharashtra. So I am, from where I stand and look at it from a very third party perspective, whatever little knowledge or whatever little I can figure out, I can see that, architecture and design firms are going to literally struggle through the next 6 months to pick up the bits, because the business development is going to slow down, die down, pick up again. The delivery factors are going to, again, at various levels, be affected and become conditional. The financial factors would also make a lot of impact on it. So, do you think for firms which are not as well established as yours, for people who maybe just been in the business for a couple of years, their sustenance factors get majorly affected? How do you feel about that?
Yes, it is going to get affected. Especially, but then I feel the smaller firms, the boutique firms, will kind of survive it better because the infrastructure is kind of much less. Are you out of sync there? Are you not
I
No,
audible?
can,
we're,
I can,
we're hearing you.
we are
We're
all here.
hearing you.
Yeah.
Ranjita froze. So
No, continue.
No, no,
I'm
we're
okay now.
hearing.
I'm
yeah.
unfrozen. I'm unfreezing now. Okay.
Wake up, wake up to the pandemonium. So I think the smaller firms will
I've been
survive
known
it
for
a
mostly
bit
causing
better.
them, but never mind this time.
Are you okay?
Yeah, we're here, but you're breaking in between.
We have a under 16 participant here. Okay. Santha, I think, was just party to our under 16 opinion on the entire webinar.
Kya? Sorry.
You were party to an under 16 opinion on the webinar, I believe, just for a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I just heard I'm party to some 16 opinions on the webinar. Is that what you said?
Under 16.
Acha, acha.
Under 16 and under 16.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Some
Under
wise and
16 opinion
juvenile,
on the
wise,
webinar.
juvenile, and
He's
innocent
come
one.
and told me that he's just finished his multiplication tables. That's
It's not
Work
table.
from home.
Anyway.
See, there you go. Multitasking. We just know how to make it happen.
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to take it from Anjali after that. So in these kind of tricky times, at least a firm like mine, so I'm more studio based and I do like lightings and textiles and art as well. So I think firms of my size also, we'll have to adapt. We'll have to
Absolutely.
versatile in that sense that even if the budgets are changing, the outlook should be that how do I first land that project, and secondly, how do I add value, and how do I kind of give the best creative solution that I can, by skill transferring or by collaboration, by whichever way. but making my best, having my creative best output. So yeah, but
Ranjita,
the whole idea is to plan the projects. Is even if the budgets are low, which in fact would be more tricky and more challenging, but it will be worth the while, and that's when I think the most creative projects happen. When even sometimes when there are like really slim budgets, you're really forced to think that how do I still make this and still kind of give this artwork, or how do I still make this light, and so which we can adapt beautifully. So that I don't think so.
Yeah, I think the larger firms will have to break down into mid-size or smaller firms, but the smaller and really small boutique firms will survive this, I feel.
Okay.
It's all relative, I mean, for
it's relative.
It's very relative.
Because
it is relative.
Yeah, it's
very relative.
They will maybe downsize, but nobody really likes downsizing, so they would try and keep people for as long as they can. So of course they would face their own challenges, and of course their projects dried up. They have far more outgoings, far more maintenance for their offices, whatever it is that their expenses are. So it's really relative. We'll all figure out a way. Someday we're all going to swim through this.
So we have one more pointer where we address that theoretically architects are said to be one of the rare groups who would still get a paycheck at the end of the day, even during lockdown, as widespread technology allows them to work from home.
No.
So how
read
far
that.
do you think?
So work from home is the design part, which is a part of the project. Then the execution is the other part. So no, we are not going to get our paychecks at the end.
No. Theoretically, architects in terms our staff, of course, because we will be paying our staff. Yeah. We are not talking about firms. We are talking about architects as individuals.
Okay.
So those architects, of course, because we are paying them, because they are designing for us, they are working from home for us. So of course they are getting paid. But of course, as firms, our payments definitely are going to be affected. They're going to be stopped. They're going to, God alone knows when we released. So those are going to be the case. But yeah, I mean, to run the show that we are running as of currently, we all have to definitely pay our staff. So in terms of those aspects of architects being paid, that of course is there. But we as firms, we are all suffering in terms of our payments coming in. So
the challenges are everywhere. Just to like give an example from a different industry. Suppose you're in the movie business, you are making a movie and it's a big budget movie. Now, where are you going, when and how are you going to release the movie? Cinema halls are not working. How are you going to make good with the money that you have invested in that movie? So it is not only for architects. The challenges are all over society. It is for the restaurant business, it's for a web designer, it's for an advertising firm, it's throughout.
It will adapt in that sense.
Yeah,
they have already
have Amazon, so in that sense,
they have adapted to that.
We'll all figure out ways of adapting.
We'll all figure out. That's
okay. So on that note, I think we've had a fantastic discussion, some very, very interesting conversation today. And before we end the session, I'd love to know personally at your level. So what are any new skill sets that you've picked up, or anything that you've ticked off your bucket list that you wanted to do, you just didn't find time enough for it, or you were just not spending enough time at home for it? Because trust me, I found quite a bit to do. I suddenly realized that I had learned abstract painting sometime, when I was way younger, and I'd just given up on it because I never found the time. But now I do find the time. So, I kind of attempted a couple of canvases, and of course, my daughter's very happy about it. But yes, we all have that one something that, we probably taught ourselves all over again, that one skill set that we re-explored, or that one wicked thing that we wanted to do all by ourselves. So what about you, ladies? I can see that wicked grin on Santha's face. That was making me extremely curious.
I had something to tell you which was that wicked, and I was planning to do it, and I did it. Unfortunately, I don't. Other than learning how to do,
I think the chef has come out from everyone. Everybody's studying how to do chefs nowadays.
I got a forward today. Is like post-pandemic. There's going to be a long queue for auditioning for MasterChef. because it's just kind of has churned out a lot of home chefs in this lockdown.
You be careful, Avni. The men might get away with better results over there, because I know personally I've been training my man to function better in the kitchen. So, we'll have to really keep up with that one there.
Ranjita, regardless, men are better chefs in any case, world over. So we are saying
No,
that.
I don't agree.
No. I'm sorry, in the restaurants, in the professional circle.
That's
I'm not talking about home.
That's because
I'm not talking about
it's a
home.
physically hard job. That's why men are.
Yeah.
Hey, hard or not hard, mujhe pata nahi. I'm
all
all
the
good at
chefs.
eating.
But ask all the chefs कि उनका best chef कौन रहा है, and then all name the mothers.
Obviously.
But that's comfort food.
Yes, I agree.
I can give it, I can give it to them.
Yeah.
For me, my mom's is also the best food.
Yeah.
Planet. So that I think is givable. But getting back to hobbies and everything, I think I've had time to work on some bit on my gardening. I've never been so much of a foodie, but post a certain age, I've kind of realized that I like food, and I've been able to indulge in,
She asked wicked things.
Very wicked thing.
Wicked things are we are all making our husbands go to the kitchen. So that's the most wicked thing we have done.
I learned a new prank. I'm going to share this with you, and I'm going to share this on live media. I learned a great prank from my daughter. It was the 1st of April, and obviously, we have this April Fool's Day, which was not possible in all honesty this year. So my daughter took a Oreo biscuit. She very subtly removed the white vanilla filling in there and filled it up with toothpaste, put it back together to make it look absolutely original, and present it to my husband. And my husband was like, oh my goodness, I have such a nice daughter. I mean, so nice. And she's sharing her Oreo. And he popped it into his mouth. So I think what was an epic moment was watching his facial expressions change. That was an epic moment, so that was wicked. So I just realized that, there's so much more that you can do at home, which is just subtle. It's just done as a part of everything that you're doing. And it's so funny, even if you're in the middle of 10 other things, it just strikes the right kind of balance of humor, even in an environment where we're all hemmed in together, and, we can obviously get irritated sometimes because we're not used to it. We're used to stepping out. We're used to doing things at our own level and everything, and here we are for the last 1 month all within 4 walls, trying to figure out how to coexist. I think that's a very big challenge right now, coexisting for 24 hours at a stretch, so it was fun. So I was hoping you guys would have something interesting like that, something wicked that you've done.
There was a report that I saw on news that post the lockdown there were 300 divorce cases in Wuhan. That was another complexity that kind of came in with close proximity with your partners, with your family, which you're not really used to, being together for such long hours.
Positive of the lockdown.
Positives of the lockdown. But I think over here as a team, almost all of us are used to this 24/7 with our partners, because we have been working with them all the time. So
I totally agree.
Yeah. So
it's
we are kind of used to
24/7 and more.
And we have adapted to that, I guess. Yeah, so that's what it is.
It's a win-win and no-win situation, both.
Yes, with the goods and with the good part
with
and
the goods and the bads.
Yes.
With the goods and with the bads.
And the ugly.
There are a few lucky ones like me, but it's okay.
Yeah, true. I agree.
Okay.
Ranjita, is it your birthday today?
Not today exactly. Maybe another 48 hours down the line.
Somebody just wished you, I think, on the chat.
I think the attendees are going down and down. I think
there's quite a bit.
It's been almost it's almost 1.5 hours, I believe.
That gentleman happens to be my legally wedded husband for the last 15 years. And if he's forgotten my birthday, he has no idea what's coming his way. God help him.
Is this a warning that we should go off and you connect with him?
Yes, I'm going to definitely have a word with him on this one. So unfair. Okay, so would you like to recommend any book or any movie to watch during this lockdown? Something that you might have found interesting. For
Yes.
example, I watched Contagion on Netflix. Found it very interesting and extremely similar to what's happening right now.
So why did you watch it?
Really similar.
So why did you watch it?
I was trying to figure out how they figured out 8 years back as to what's going to happen now.
I'd like to recommend a series on, I think it's Amazon or Netflix, but Messiah, which is very interesting. That was something that I.
Can you come again? What series is that?
It's Messiah.
Okay.
So it's an interesting mix between religious, religious leaders, and what if religion was supposed to, if we had a religious leader now, a mainstream religious leader now, born in today's environment, and what kind of repercussions, political repercussions, economical repercussions, or even so it was dealt really well. It was
okay. What about you, Santha?
I've been watching everything, but Along Came a Spider was really nice. Very nice. It's a thriller. So I watched a lot of these murder mysteries and thrillers and stuff like that.
Along Came a Spider. Forgive me. Is that a Agatha Christie?
No.
Okay. I think the Knives Out thing by which has Daniel Craig starring in it is a very nice one. Agatha Christie one. I think.
Then I saw a lot of mindless movies like Student of the Year and everything, like just for the.
So nobody's watching anything related to their profession.
Oh no!
I did that. क्या Best Homes Netflix पे कुछ है अच्छा ना?
Watch Abstract. Go through Abstract series also.
Yeah, that had Arjun Malik showing off his house. That was
an episode
few of them I saw.
for Elysium, which is really, really, really nice. And
so watch the Abstract series. It's nice. Yeah.
My time is 9 in the night till 1 a.m. in the morning. Whatever comes my way. Sometimes it's whatever a husband prefers. Sometimes it's whatever it is I prefer.
So what about you, Lalita?
Well, unfortunately or fortunately, I should say, I've been watching a lot of doctors speaking because it's all about knowing what next, what happens, what's, have we come with a breakthrough or how various countries are dealing with things. So I've kind of been preoccupied with watching that or hearing those people talk. So yeah, I mean, I've watched few movies here and there, yes, Netflix, but then nothing so interesting that I can say.
Lalita, leave that to a supernatural force.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I think Money
That's my son.
Yes,
Money Heist. Yeah, long back. It's wonderful. It's addictive.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Money Heist is good. I think you should try watching this Indian series called Asur also, which has Arshad Varsi in the lead. Yes, it's very, very interesting. And I think the storyline is something that we should, it should really. I have seldom come across a script which is so finely researched, and that also dealing with a morbid topic like murder. It's beautifully done. So I think that's definitely worth a watch. And on that note, we are going to sign off for now from Pandemic versus Pandemonium. Thank you, everyone who watched in. Thank you, panelists.
Thank you, Ranjita.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ranjita.
Thank you so much.
Santha, Avni, nice meeting you.
Wakanda hug. That's the Wakanda hug.
Virtual hug.
Yeah, virtual hug.
Virtual hug to all of you.
You and nothing soon.
Lovely meeting.
See you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are going
Same here. Same here.
Coming
We all
back
keep in touch. Yes.
Absolutely. Keep in touch. We're coming back with a lot more topics and a lot more pointers for discussion. So we are going to see each other again very soon. Audience, thank you for being a part with us. Okay, stay
I'm
tuned
sorry
in.
we have not been able to attend to a lot of audience questions though, because there was a lot and we don't have so much time to go on and on. But yeah, I mean, they could probably write to any
you
of
could
us, I
redirect
guess,
them personally to whoever
yes,
is
exactly.
to answer.
We will take care of that. In fact, we've already gone at 1.5 hours. We were actually targeting about 60 minutes, but I think we had a very interesting conversation. Thank you, ladies. It was such a pleasure.
Okay.
And as always, we are signing off now, but we're going to tune back in very soon.
Bye.
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 Bye. Take care.
Stay safe. Stay in. Yes.